Most traditional centerfire guys think high-pressure pneumatics are just glorified toys. And it costs them the ability to hunt silently on properties where powder burners are strictly banned. Look, I know what you're thinking. You think your cheap rimfire is the only way to ethically take a predator at 200 yards. You have never seen what happens when European engineers start playing with massive power plenums, unchoked barrels, and heavy lead slugs. Stop buying outdated choke barrel air hogs just because a marketing department slapped a cheap plastic stock on them. Here is the deal. We are tearing down the top 7 European long-range PCP hunting rigs of 2026. These are absolute tack drivers that hit with enough foot-pounds to drop medium game right where they stand. Kicking off at number 7, we have the KalibrGun Snipe 2 out of the Czech Republic. This is not some lightweight stalking rifle you carry through the thick brush. Instead, it operates as a dedicated heavy-duty tactical chassis system built for setting up on a ridgeline and dominating from a bipod. Spitting 30 cal lead downrange, this rig is designed for the stationary predator hunter who demands absolute velocity consistency. Let us talk about the beating heart of this platform. It utilizes a massive 700 CCS high-pressure air tank. Why does this massive volume matter? Because it ensures the regulator has a constant, unwavering supply of high-pressure air. This regulatory perfection is why independent testing shows a microscopic standard deviation of just 3.66 feet per second when you are shooting at 150 yards. Eliminating that extreme spread prevents the vertical stringing that turns a clean neutralization into a complete miss. The trigger breaks incredibly light at 9.1 ounces. It snaps like a thin icicle fracturing in the dead of winter. The firing report is a solid mechanical thwack, letting you know some serious kinetic energy just left the barrel. You get up to 110 foot-pounds of energy out of the 600 millimeter barrel. But honestly, here is the deal breaker. At 7.9 pounds completely unscoped and over 37 inches long, the ergonomics are rough if you try to use it offhand. It handles a bit like a wooden fence post when you're moving through dense woods, making it undeniably heavy and cumbersome for active stalking. The AR-15 compatible interface means you can swap grips and buttstocks perfectly to your liking. It features an incredibly smooth, linear slide cocking system that you can switch for left or right-handed use. Lock a heavy bipod onto the ARCA rail, use the built-in 20-minute of angle weaver rail for your heavy thermal optics, and you are set. You get 70 consistent shots per charge in 22 cal, pushing over 52 foot-pounds. It is a true stationary powerhouse. Stepping up the maneuverability. Number 6 brings us the FX Leopard straight out of Sweden. I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this, but a Bullpup can absolutely rival a full-length sniper platform. Sound off below if you have ever dragged a massive barrel through thick brush and wished you had a compact rig instead. Throwing 30 cal slugs downrange, this compact beast is an absolute slug shooter that redefines what is possible. Looking at the architecture, the Swedish engineers did something completely wild. They integrated a massive 54 CCS regulated power plenum directly into the buttstock. By moving that pressurized volume out of the forend and into the rear, It drastically shifts the moment of inertia and center of gravity straight into your shoulder. That means you get incredible balance and less fatigue when you're shooting offhand, making it incredibly fast handling in tight hunting blinds. The trigger snaps crisp as a dry hickory branch under a heavy work boot. When the hammer strikes, the report sounds like a heavy thud against a wet sandbag. But let us be real. The damage to your wallet is going to be severe. Proprietary Swedish parts and extra high-capacity magazines cost a fortune, making the overall investment steep if you want to run this system hard. Under the hood, it uses a 700mm STX Superior Heavy Liner to properly stabilize heavy lead, paired with an 890 cubic centimeters total air capacity using a 580 cubic centimeters carbon fiber bottle. You're generating up to 123 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. The overall length is still remarkably short, giving you massive power without the unwieldy size. It even has a 20-minute of angle incline built directly into the scope rail to maximize your optic adjustments at long distances. Now we get into the serious hunting rigs. Coming in at number 5 is the BRK Ghost High Power straight out of the UK. Pushes 30 cal slugs with unapologetic raw aggression. Built around a titanium, aerospace alloy, and carbon fiber chassis, this platform is the ultimate unyielding field workhorse. It was engineered specifically for the hunter who demands 0 point of impact shifts while trekking through harsh brush. Let us dive into the mechanics. It utilizes a fixed valve paired with a world-class Huma air regulator. This means instead of obsessing over valve dwell times, the regulator perfectly stages the internal pressure, giving you exact, repeatable airflow, shot after shot. You get absolute consistency right out of the box without needing to be a pneumatic engineer. Pulling the trigger breaks like a heavy glass rod snapping under pressure. When that sear drops, it punches the air like a sledgehammer hitting a wet tractor tire, generating up to 100 foot-pounds of energy. This is a highly lethal tool for dropping coyotes right in their tracks. It sports an AK-style pistol grip and an ambidextrous polymer stock for maximum control. But listen, the street price is heavy, and there is a glaring performance quirk here. It is an absolute air hog when cranked up to maximum power. You will only get about 20 full power shots out of that 480 CCS bottle before you fall off the regulator, meaning you will be dragging a fill tank into the field for extended sessions. This is a devastatingly reliable workhorse, but wait until you see the absolute slug slinging monster sitting on the throne at number 1. It will completely change how you view air pressure. Stepping up the power. Landing at number 4 is the AGT Vulcan 3 high power out of the Czech Republic. Throws 30 caliber solid lead, downrange with massive authority. This rig is an absolute set it and forget it. Powerhouse built to thrive in abusive field conditions. If you want a dedicated extreme range hunting instrument tailored exactly for solid slug performance, this is it. It purposefully trades delicate micro adjustments for unyielding monolithic durability. Looking at the barrel architecture, it features a massive 700mm cold hammer forged unchoked barrel. Why does that matter for the hunter? Because solid slugs do not compress easily like traditional hollow skirted pellets. Forcing a massive slug through a tightly choked muzzle creates severe mechanical friction, rapidly degrading your feet per second and destroying the aerodynamic profile. By running a completely unchoked system, it allows heavy 64-grain solid projectiles to exit smoothly, holding incredibly tight groups past 150 yards. The trigger cracks like an ice sheet, fracturing under a heavy truck tire. Pulling through that brake releases an immense amount of air, but the enlarged sound moderator catches it so it just barks like a heavy sledge, slamming into a hardwood stump. To fuel that massive output, it utilizes a dual-cylinder system, combining a 580 cubic centimeters carbon fiber bottle with an internal tube. This gives you a cavernous 715 cubic centimeters of total volume when filled to 4,350 pounds per square inch. You get up to 145 foot-pounds of kinetic energy while still yielding 30 consistent shots. Built on a single-piece monoblock receiver, it incorporates a sloped 20-minute of angle weaver rail to keep your heavy thermal optics perfectly aligned. But let us be real. The aesthetics and build have a glaring flaw. The overall look is incredibly blocky, and the factory barrel shroud is so bulky, it feels like a piece of industrial plumbing pipe strapped to the front. It is definitely not winning any beauty pageants, but it will absolutely dispatch predators with ruthless efficiency. Entering the elite tier. Coming in at number 3 is the RTI Mora out of Slovenia. Spits 35 cal slugs with absolute devastation. This rig was engineered from the ground up to solve the physical constraints of shooting ultra-heavy, high ballistic coefficient projectiles. Deep magazines are the secret here. While other rigs choke on long projectiles, the Mora features cavernous magazines that swallow 22mm long slugs natively. Let us break down the internal pneumatics. It utilizes a brilliant linked dual regulator external adjustment system. When you twist the dial to adjust the secondary regulator, the primary regulator automatically scales its pressure to maintain a perfect 25 bar differential. This completely prevents you from accidentally inducing a tune that blows out the internal O-rings, making it foolproof when you're dialing in for extreme distances. The trigger snaps like a frozen twig fracturing under a heavy combat boot. When the hammer falls, the report hits the air like a wet canvas tarp slapping against a concrete wall. Using a massive 125 cubic centimeters plenum, this beast generates a staggering 250 foot-pounds of kinetic energy with 125 grain ZAN slugs. The monolithic action is milled from a single block of aerospace-grade aluminum. It features numbered telltale weep holes across the chassis. If a seal fails, high-pressure air bleeds through a specific numbered port, letting you diagnose the exact failure instantly without blindly tearing the gun apart. Grabbing this Slovenian monster sets you back a serious chunk of change. But look, there is a brutal flaw here. Racking the bolt to chamber those massive slugs feels incredibly gritty and stiff, especially when you are trying to stay quiet in a blind. It lacks the buttery smooth action you expect at this premium tier. Closer to the crown. Number 2 brings us the Daystate Blackwolf out of the UK. Pushes 22 and 30 cal slugs with surgical precision. This is the absolute zenith of precision adjustability, built for the hunter who wants electronic-level mechanical performance out in the unforgiving elements. Let us look under the hood at the titanium firing valve. Why does titanium matter here? Because it is exceptionally light but incredibly strong. This drastically lowers the mass and inertia of the valve, allowing it to snap open and closed much faster than traditional steel components. That blistering valve speed reduces your lock time, the microscopic delay between pulling the trigger and the slug actually leaving the muzzle. Faster lock time means your pulse or tiny body movements have way less chance to throw off your point of impact when you are dialed in at 200 yards. The trigger snaps like a fragile glass fuse, shattering under a heavy steel pin. When the hammer strikes, the report sounds like a thick leather whip cracking against an empty oil drum. Utilizing the advanced rifle technology tension barrel system, it stretches the liner inside a rigid shroud to completely eliminate harmonic whip. In the long-range slug configuration with a 28-inch barrel, this British masterpiece delivers up to 135 foot-pounds of energy in 30 cal. It features a 20-stage tool, free integral power adjuster, so you can dial your velocity perfectly on the fly without breaking out the Allen keys. You can run a 480 or 580 CCS carbon fiber bottle, depending on your stalking needs. It even has a built-in 20-minute of angle incline on the rail for your heavy night vision optics. But listen, here is the brutal truth. The street price is absolutely punishing, and buying extra proprietary magazines will completely drain your wallet. Extra gear for this rig costs a fortune, making the financial toll incredibly steep. And now, we reach the absolute pinnacle. Taking the crown at number 1 is the FX Impact M4 out of Sweden. It sends 30 cal solid lead downrange with unmatched surgical precision. This rig takes the throne because it gives you the massive, unyielding kinetic energy of the AGT Vulcan 3 high power at number 4, but pairs it with an infinitely adjustable pneumatic system that puts the Daystate Blackwolf at number 2 to shame. Let us look exactly at how this system breathes. It utilizes a highly advanced single AMP Mark II regulator, completely ditching the older dual regulator setups. Why does this actually matter for the hunter? Because new synthetic valve seating allows this single regulator to handle massive pressure differentials without suffering from regulator creep. That means your plenum pressure stays perfectly locked in the sweet spot, even if the gun sits in a cold truck overnight, guaranteeing your first cold bore shot has the exact same feet per second as your last. The fully adjustable trigger breaks like a frozen high tensile wire, snapping under extreme tension. When you let that hammer drop, the report sounds like a heavy mallet slamming into a thick, wet phone book. By utilizing the STX Superior Extended Barrel Liner and the factory Slug power kit, it generates a staggering 156 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. That is enough raw power to completely neutralize wild hogs at 150 yards without hesitation. They also heavily reinforce the monolithic top plate, entirely eliminating the microscopic chassis flex that used to plague older models when running heavy military-grade thermal optics. It is the ultimate tinkerer's dream and undeniably the deadliest long-range pneumatic hunting platform on the market today. Look, The ballistic landscape has completely shifted. If you are still ignoring what European airgun engineers are doing with massive power plenums and heavy lead slugs, you're just leaving meat on the table. These are not the backyard plinkers you grew up shooting. These are precision pneumatic platforms capable of stacking ethical takedowns at ranges that make traditional rimfire guys sweat. Whether you want the unyielding monolithic durability of a blocky field workhorse or the surgical tuning of a Swedish masterpiece, the tools are out there waiting for you. It ultimately comes down to matching the rig to your specific stalking style and the size of your wallet. If you want the raw truth without the marketing fluff, lock it in right here.